Hello everybody, Venom here, and welcome back to part 2 of Halo 2 Limited Collector's Edition documentary from all the way back to 2004. If you haven't seen part 1, I suggest you go back to hear my thoughts on the first part, and also like some things that I have to say about game development in general. But now, without any further ado, let's just finish this wonderful documentary.
It's really nice to see something which needed an epic effort to put it together and make it really great, sort of coming together now.
Always a great feeling.
We're at a stage in the game development where a lot of things that were broken or unfinished are really coming together.
That's always cool because like you're creating stuff from the ground up, you know, like it's insane to stuff that you've talked to in meetings are now
wiped out all my expectations.
Tangible.
I was hoping for Halo 1.5 or 6, you know, and a few new features, a couple of new weapons, but just seeing how it's exploding, it's really incredible.
It's really great to have this deadline that we can't move at all because it forces us to kind of finish it.
Yes, I do agree with that gentleman 100%. You hear developers say all the time, "I wish we had more time. If only we had more time. Oh, more time, we would be able to do so many great things." And to be honest, I say that too. Like, I think it's just reasonable, right? When you are pressed for time and you have to make hard decisions, you're like, well, if I only add more time, you know? But I think sometimes not having time left, it just pushes you towards finishing it. Because, like, I truly think certain people sometimes will keep iterating and changing and redoing parts of a game up until a producer comes in and say, fucking stop, dude. Like, we just cannot, like, we need to ship. And that mentality shift during a project is really, really important because at some point, you gotta ship it. Because if you change something, okay, you have to design it, you have to get it working, then it needs to be integrated by the, let's say, like the level designers and the mission designers and all that stuff. But then you have the audio people that are the last ones to do their pass, right? Because like once everything is done, once the mission is complete, once the level is okay and everything, once the ethics are added to the game, the last people that are acting in the production are the audio people, and they're always the one that eats shit at the end. Everybody just takes more time than they're supposed to. The other guys can finally work. They're really pressed for time. So at one point, like, yeah, you need to stop everything and just ship it, dude. Just ship it.
When the producers come over and pry our hands from the keyboard and say, okay, you can't touch it anymore, we've got to start manufacturing these discs, I think that's the point where we're going to have to stop, and that's going to be the end of it.
Yep. Yeah, producers, man, they're really useful to
damn, like it's so cool
make the game ship.
Hunter, except then this grunt guy came over, and wouldn't it be cool like if he could jump up on the hunter's back and do this or that or you know whatever, and you're like, let's go do it.
It feels to me like the excitement is coming back. Getting the missions together is pretty huge. It's something that people haven't seen for 3 years. All the designers are here, programmers are here, environment artists seem like they haven't gone home since about April anyway, so I think everybody's kept focused, and I think that's something that's really important.
We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, so that's good.
There's glorious bright light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, you sounded so tired.
It's just a little pinprick, but it's coming fast.
I'm married to the guy who actually got to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and he says it's glorious.
What? What?
Every day I see something brand new that it blows me away. I'm like, gosh, how did you guys do that? It's really neat stuff. excites me, makes me do better work, makes all these other guys do better work.
Yep.
They're really excited about
That
it.
shit's contagious, man.
Jason has this phrase that he uses for how things come together at the end, and he says that it's like assembling a cathedral out of a hurricane.
We scale each of these three factors by a different value.
The best part of working Halo 1 was at the end, when the game is done, you come in and play the game, and that's your work. You come in and you actually beta test the game. And I'll just tell him that I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to see all the work that we've done, put it in the game and play it at the end of the game. It's gonna be awesome.
I would describe it as barely pulling out of the dive in time to make a perfect three-point landing, and I think if the plane holds together, we're gonna land it okay.
I'm often amazed by the shit that we can pull off. This group of people is great.
Well, I think
It's about believing you're the best and that there's nothing that you can't overcome. It's about showing everybody else that you rule the world. And it's also about having fun. I mean, as hard as it gets, it's still the best job in the world.
Fuck yeah, man.
All right. Stick together.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, it went up top.
Like, as soon as I had my first job in the industry,
I like to
I
think
fucking
of it
knew.
as
that was
jumping
that.
out of an airplane with some silkworms and a needle and having to make your parachute on the way down. It always comes together right at the very end.
Pull this out from so far.
There's always this thing that happens at the end where all these disparate pieces come together and make this glorious game, and to a certain extent you just have to keep your hands on the keyboard like it's a steering wheel of a race car and type really quickly as all this stuff falls into the hopper, because very quickly what's going to come out the other side is, I think, something which is really good. We're not sure yet, but it's looking like it's going to be good.
It was good. Definitely.
We've got a problem. I will continue my campaign against the humans.
Warriors, prepare for combat. 30 seconds out.
Stand by to...
Whoa.
Hell yeah, the Scarab. Love it.
The story of Halo 2 it's the story of Halo 1 told from the Covenant perspective.
Huh.
Halo's story is one about salvation. It's a story of warriors with not a lot of options who have their backs up against the wall.
How much further must we heft this baggage?
In Halo 1, we focused on the humans' perspective, their fate at the hands of the Covenant, but we never really got too much into the Covenant side of the story itself.
That is true. That's definitely something that changed into.
Challenge to the story because he's not the chief, he's not human.
As the player at the start of the game, you don't realize that you're actually going to play this elite general who's been disgraced, but you get this quick glimpse at, that's the flip side of what happened to the Covenant at the end of the first game.
Halo's destruction was your error, and you rightly bear the blame. But ultimately, the terms of your execution are up to me.
I am already dead.
A couple levels into the game, you realize, oh my God, I get to play this guy.
People identify with humans. People care about humans more.
Yep.
So we really have to put the Arbiter in a position in the story where he matters and where the player cares about him.
You want to look at this guy and you want to see that, wow, he's just as cool as the Master Chief.
I did not mention that at the end of my Halo 2 playthrough, but I do feel like they did a pretty good job with the Arbiter in Halo 2. However, I would have still not ended the game with him. That's the only thing I would have done differently. But they really made me feel for the Arbiter, so they did a good job with that, for sure.
What would you have your Arbiter do?
This time around, it's essentially we're telling two stories that simultaneously. We're going back and forth from level to level.
Way over 90% of the time, there's going to be the player who's not paying any attention to the story. He's writing his own story. It's basically just an action movie.
Yep.
That's really a challenge in a game. Like when you stop the game and give the player your dose of the story, and you've succeeded when he's not thinking of those two things as different anymore.
What we are doing now in Halo 2 is so much more in depth. We're bringing so much more character to each one of the entities.
For the sacred icon has been found. With it, our path is clear, our entry into the divine beyond guaranteed.
This new character here is the Prophet. They wanted some guy who is omnipotent looking and really powerful. Looks like, but really old and fragile.
Yeah, definitely. They really have the physique of people who rules it. Yeah.
Were it not for the Arbiters, the Covenant would have broken long ago.
In Halo 2, we are really making a bigger effort to give each one of those characters their more animalistic behavior, something that's more true to the actual character themselves.
He's just this big, brutish guy who is just, you could probably equate him to, a really badass biker.
Oh my god, I just noticed also that the way they filmed that, they just put a fucking mirror on their desk and the guy's looking at the screen so they can film both at the same time. Fucking 2004, man, never changed. They could have just like edited the video so that you see the screen and then on the other side like his face, but no, they fucking put a mirror. Oh, that's great. That's fucking great, man.
In a bar and crossed the wrong way.
Brute is more of a combination of a gorilla type like face, and he's got a skin of a pachyderm. The Mohawk. We were trying to think of a way to distinguish the Tartarus from the rest of the pack, and main bad guy in Gremlins 2 had a giant white Mohawk, and that worked extremely well. Everybody realized, who was the boss. I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's a cool character.
Lame boss,
I think
but cool character.
Someone who you really will, at the beginning, trust a little bit, but then end up loathing. And I think putting a bullet in his head is going to be extremely satisfying for people.
Now would be a very good time to leave.
The Chief was extremely robotic. In Halo 1, I've made him a much more, not sappy, emotional character, but show some cracks in his armor. Explain a little bit more about his relationship with Cortana.
Apologize, but we're going to have to make this quick.
You look nice.
Thank you.
And his relationship with another character, Miranda, who we're introducing, the daughter of Captain Keyes from the first game.
Commander Miranda Keyes.
This is a much more human story.
Smile, would you? Well, we still got something to smile about.
Master Chief, pretty much the consummate professional. Does his job, walks off, doesn't even get the girl. He's that cool. He doesn't need her.
That's not cool. You need girls, man.
This game's about making a hero of everybody.
Let's be honest.
I'm really excited about the moment where the player puts down the controller and says, "Oh man, that was so awesome. I just beat the crap out of him."
We're going in. Get tactical, Marines!
And it's just fun. It's a great universe. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to live there, but it's fun to visit.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Stay down.
The loss of one of the sacred rings racked our hearts with grief. Putting aside our sorrow, we renewed our faith in the prophecy that other rings would be found, and see how our faith has been rewarded. Halo.
In Halo 2, we've got a much bigger story to tell, and this story takes place in a lot of different places.
We're going to send the player on this galactic romp from the ruins of Halo to the Prophet's homeworld High Charity to these amazing Forerunner facilities in the atmospheres of planets. The player is going to transition from mission to mission, from one unexpected place to the next.
They really did a good job with that. The variety in the levels is great.
A sheet of paper and just try to generate ideas. What are the cool things that could happen on this mission?
We'll bang our heads against the whiteboard and we'll call each other assholes, and that's crazy, and we can't do that, before we cobble together some unified plan which is going to work for the entire level.
There's all this sort of high-level stuff. When you get into building it, you gotta have good encounters.
Yep. Enemy variety.
Have good arcing fiction on a 3 to 5 encounter basis.
At some point, you'll get a surprise twist that sends you off in a different direction, and then it's got a really cool finale.
Oracle, what is Halo's purpose?
It's building an encounter that always keeps people thinking. It's a pretty big challenge. Is there anything actually going on in the room before I get there? Are guys just sort of patrolling? Is there another fight going on? You know, or a flood gonna bust through?
There's a lot of tricks you try and employ. We want the player to feel like they're choosing to go in a direction even when we're forcing them to.
Yep.
We guide the player with texture, with lighting, with AI,
yes,
with sound. We obviously want to make it so that there are multiple paths through this space.
Yeah, good level design is guiding the players without them knowing you're guiding them. Because like that's something that I'm really that I hate in games, when I can feel the designer's hand on my shoulder and just, you know, like, go here and go here and go here. That's why I hate like tutorials that prevent you from doing anything else than what you have to do. Like you have this pop-up, it's like, oh, press E to interact, and then you like all the other actions of your players are locked except E, and you're like, God, dude, come the fuck on, man. Let me express myself. Every time I feel the designer's hand too much, it's like, oh, I don't like it. But also at the same time, you need to feel guided a bit, you know, and that's a tricky range that you have to nail there.
Every single one of those areas had to be modeled by an artist. I mean, there's someone went in there, and for every single wall you see, every single floor, every single light, every single, you know, piece of glass, like there was an artist there. Someone had to go through and make all that.
That takes a fucking long time, man.
What I like most about Halo is that we don't build encounters and our AI doesn't act in a way that is very predictable.
So AI stands for artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is simply the discipline that tries to simulate intelligent processes. What we're literally doing is taking these characters and we're writing a piece of software that acts as their brain. It really is all about, when this happens, do this. When this other thing happens, do this.
That's why making AI that are good is hard.
Designers and artists step in is deciding, well, we have all this cool technology, how are we going to use it? And how are you going to create this experience that the player can understand, you know, that when, you know, he sees a certain type of thing, that if he shoots it, it's going to blow up and he's going to be able to destroy it and pass through it. Most of the Halo world is not destructible. You have to walk a fine line in deciding what things are going to be destructible and what's going to match the player's expectations for what's destroyable. When someone says, hey, the whole world is destructible, that's great. We've done our job. We've made them believe that.
Yeah, true. The whole level cannot be destructible, though.
What really excites me is being able to create a real environment and not take shortcuts and not fake things, and actually just get in there and really try to make it a real place and a real exciting place for people to go.
If you can set it up so that each new situation is the problem that the player has to solve, like he can do that over and over and over again.
All the events that we're trying to create, we just want people to feel like they're the only ones in the context of this game that could do what they're doing. It's all about you saving the universe again.
Very nice.
I think the days are gone where the guys say, you know, honey, I'm going over to Jeff's house to go play cards. Now it's, honey, I'm headed over to Jeff's house to go play Halo.
Yeah, fuck cards, man, when you got a Halo. Let's be fucking honest here, guys.
Multiplayer is a little different because it's more like a sport in that you're, you know, yes, the game is there, but it's basically helping you compete against your friends. You essentially get to rage against each other in this crazy combat world.
It's always fresh. Your opponents are always new, and they are always adapting.
Super addictive. We played it every single night for 1 year.
We actually kind of went out on a limb with Halo 2.
That's some fucking Breaking Benjamin again.
Multiplayer maps, so they fit within the single player settings. So you could look at any of our maps and you could say, wait, I know that location.
Probably the most popular team game types is capture the flag. Or on almost every Halo 1 map, we had 2 bases that were pretty identical. And at the beginning of Halo 2, we were trying to think of different ways where we can make our maps more asymmetrical.
Oh, I love that.
It's fun to play as the attacker, and then it's fun to play as the defender.
I love that. Most multiplayer games at the beginning were symmetrical, you know, like you just split the map into 2 and then it's like it's the same thing. That's really fucking boring though. I really love maps that are asymmetrical. There's a lot of level design challenges with that though, because they have to be somewhat balanced. It makes the multiplayer experience so much better, I think. Like one example is Overwatch. Like the fact that the maps are asymmetrical is so great. Like that's the best.
You can never completely defend the base. Maybe there's 2 guys defending, but there's 3 ways in.
Yep.
You're always having to make these choices.
Yep.
So the attackers start on the beach, and we give the attacker a warthog and 2 ghosts. And then we don't give the defender anything except the rocket launcher.
Just that. Only the rocket launcher.
From the main complex by this seawall. So it gives the attackers a home, and then the defenders also have their base, which is their home. And then the vehicles have to come in through this one gate. The rocket launcher guy usually likes to get into position to attack that gate.
A HUD is the heads-up display. Let's say I'm in a firefight and I'm firing my weapon, and if I'm taking damage, the indicator turns red, so I can instantly see if my teammates are in trouble. And if one of them was to die, my friend there is dead. He shows up with a big red X over his head. Now, there's been many times I've been in a game and I'll be following my buddies right in to go get the flag, and then all of a sudden I'll see all these red X's appear on my screen. I'll go, you know, maybe now is not a good time to run through that door. Everybody likes to go to their buddy's house and, you know, order pizza and get something to drink and wipe the Cheetos off your hands and jabbing each other and calling them names. What we wanted to do was take that whole situation and bring it to Xbox Live. And so we tried to create what we called a virtual couch. We tried something completely new, which is this party system, where you and your friends kind of combine together online. And you can jump from game to game to game to game, and you and your friends will always be together.
Interesting. Those are the kind of features nowadays that we take for granted, right? But it probably wasn't a thing back then.
It was really amazing to get online for the first time when there were a bunch of people online and just press the button that said, I want to play, go find me some other people that want to play, and choose a game type that's pretty cool, and just stick me in it as fast as you can. And to have that process happen in like 5 seconds was really incredible.
Yeah, nice quality of life setting there, for sure.
Raphael, man, find someone.
Proximity voice. You can get close to somebody in a game and talk to them, and only that person can hear you.
Oh, neat.
Nice to meet you. Proximity voice is going to make us gods. There's nothing like running up to somebody and killing them with the energy sword, and then 2 minutes later they kill you, and then they're standing over your body saying, eat it! How did you like that? See, this is my sword!
You're just an anonymous nobody unless we build ways for you to create an identity for yourself there.
We allow them to customize their color, their...
Yeah, that's always good in multiplayer stuff, man.
So that when they go online, I'm the little red smiley face, and so people see my red smiley face and they go, hey, I remember that guy. My clan is a group of guys that form a team, and we may practice, we may join one of these matchmaking playlists.
It's hard to play with people that are lower skill level than you, even if you really like them, because you're probably going to lose more often, and you're not going to have as much fun. If I play with Chris, the two of us are ranked together as a team, and if he's not as good as me, then that's going to take down your rank. The point is, Chris sucks.
Flag drop.
Oh my god! Oh, I died because Carney was no good.
One of the cool things we're working on is integrating the live functionality of the game with the website, and we're kind of going to be a starting point for your Halo 2 bragging rights.
Other really cool things about map analysis or statistics on kills and weapons killed with that we may or may not get to, depending on how tired I get between now and September.
If we do this right, if we are able to really pull off the engine and Xbox Live and the social community, it's going to destroy everything else that's out there.
There is something somewhat magic. It's like being an athlete in a sporting event.
Nice.
Yeah, I never played Halo Online, so I don't know if they did that.
And your heart starts going boom, boom, boom.
Halo was a big thing online, though, so they probably got around to it.
To score, and then somebody snipes you from the corner, and you jump up and scream and throw your controller down, and you hate it, but you love it, and you gotta play again.
Oh, deleted cinematics, deleted stuff.
I'm Joseph Staten. I'm the director of cinematics. I basically am in charge of making the movies, telling the story.
I'm CJ Cowan. I am a cinematic designer. John Buckus, animator.
Interesting.
This is a scene that used to happen in the middle of the control room level, where the Arbiter comes across Sergeant Johnson, basically about to be executed by some brutes.
This one will do. Kill the other.
Yes, Chieftain. A day's ration says I do this in one cut.
2 cuts, at least.
You're on.
This was going to be sort of our big, crazy fight scene that John and I cooked up, and John did most of the good choreography for it. And then we decided to simplify things. I don't know, what would you add to that, John?
How do you mean simplify? By cutting it?
Yeah, really. By saying, this is stupid. No, I think if you watch it, you'll see that there's just a ton of really great action, which I think ultimately decided one was really hard to animate given the time that we had. So it was a fight scene that we wanted the player to actually do himself.
Fair. Probably a good decision, to be honest.
I always wanted to have some big rumble between the Arbiter and a bunch of the brutes. You don't really ever see these guys go at it unarmed, and this would be the one great situation where you see, look at that, whoop, ah! Look at that choreography, oh, in the face. There's still a small part of this cinematic that is in the game. We still have basically the end of this cinematic where the Arbiter and Johnson are talking about what they're going to do, how they're going to actually make it to the control room to take out Tartarus. We wanted to get Johnson safely into the Scarab before the player could get control of things.
Right.
That's what actually happens in the real game.
Tell me, human, can you drive a Scarab?
This would lead into some gameplay. And the cool gameplay, of course, is the Arbiter riding on the Scarab tank while Johnson was driving it.
They're gonna know we're coming.
See, that was a good decision. Like, as you said, like, the fight scene would have cost a lot of time to do, and like fights in video games, that's the player's job, right? So that was actually a very good decision, I think. Even if the cinematic would have been cool, ultimately I think it was the right decision.
This is the scene that used to be called the Mural Scene, and you're about to see why. This is our big chance in the middle of the game to give the player a really clear understanding of the Covenant religion, explain how it's actually set up, what they believe in, and why. I think the original Videomatic that we're looking at, it probably gave the player too much information. I think we were trying to sell the Covenant side of the story a little bit too hard.
What has happened?
The prophets blame us for that braggart Regret's demise, and decided to replace our best warriors with these imbeciles.
Yeah, it is heavy-handed a bit.
Look at the real cinematic in the game, the one that evolved from this. We picked the most important things, which were the changing of the guard, the relationship, the uneasy relationship between the Spec Ops commander and the prophets, and then the sort of conniving way that the Prophet of Truth gets the player, the arbiter, excited about going and completing his task. Those sort of three critical moments are still in the real cinematic, but they're done much more efficiently.
Yeah.
This is kind of the very beginning of the realization that the Covenant is starting to fall apart, where the elites are kind of being ushered off to the side by the prophets, and the brutes are kind of coming in, and nobody really knows what's going on. The Spec Ops commander's like, I don't know why we're being kicked out.
It was clear the elites could no longer guarantee our safety.
But we have always been your protectors.
These are trying times for all of us.
We have this fantastic story arc that we're trying to get across, and we have all this backstory that we're trying to get across. And there comes a point where we look at the amount of time that we have left to finish this game, and we realize that we're just crazy. We're not going to be able to do all of this. And so we pick our battles with, you know, what we can cut out. And essentially, we're not losing that much by the cinematic that replaces what you see here.
True, because like what he said there, like the basis of like the Covenant story, like all of those things, even though they're not said outright, over the course of the game, as a player, you do understand those. So, good choice again.
How well do you know?
Obviously, like these guys know what the fuck they're doing, right? They created fucking Halo. I don't know why I'm saying, oh, good job, guys. Then that's not how I want to come across, guys. I'm just saying that I agree, basically.
Writ of Union.
As well as I did the day I swore my oath.
Recite the first canto.
So full of hate were our eyes that none of us could see.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Our war would yield countless dead, but never victory.
So let us cast arms aside, and like discard our wrath. Thou in faith will keep us safe whilst we find the path.
Yeah, that's...
Hungry for power and dominion, our ancestors met on the field of battle. Indeed, I suspect we would still be at each other's throats had the prophets not found evidence of the Forerunners and their great journey.
It's all stuff that you know, it's just like much more exposed here.
Through the 7 stages of the formation of the Covenant, from the earliest time when the elites and the prophets were actually mortal enemies and fighting each other, up to the sort of present day where both species, in conjunction with a handful of others, grunts, etc., are actually looking for the Halo ring. So as you look at the first mural, you'll see it's a representation of the conflict between the prophets and the elites, and this one shows sort of the elites' function in the Covenant, which is as the enforcers.
While some were short-sighted and chose to reject the promise of our union, all were eventually swayed by the knowledge that those who joined the Covenant would be welcome on our great journey.
Yeah, that's
this one here
major exposition right there.
What the prophets do, which is essentially search through old Forerunner ruins and find artifacts. And one of the most amazing things they found as they searched was this myth of 7 rings created by the Forerunners scattered throughout the galaxy. And this myth of the rings became the thing which drove the creation of the Covenant, is the foundation of their religion, which is a belief that these rings are sacred objects that will, if activated, make you a god.
Obliterate you, more like, but...
Instant, our Lord's most splendid creation revealed its hidden power. A divine wind that would rush through the stars.
I think that there's a great push in games these days to throw everything in first person and to essentially remove any letterbox cinematic time. I think a lot of people are moving in that direction. I think our job is to, as efficiently as possible, bracket in letterboxes those critical things the player has to know and tell them in a way that's epic and moving that you just can't always do in first person. But we don't want to keep the player in this little rarefied special world too long. We want to give him some questions, give him some answers, but then send him back out into the sandbox. So this is a great example of a 6-minute thing that we decided, we can really do this in about 4 or 3.5, or maybe even less than that. And let's take that other stuff and let's sprinkle it around in all the different levels.
Yes.
And I think ultimately the player not just appreciates that more, but it makes it a richer game experience.
100% agree with that. And that is a very interesting point that he explained there. Cinematics are cool, and that's my opinion, right? And it all depends on the type of game you're making and what you really enjoy about games. But to me, a game is a game, right? Makes sense. So what I really like in gaming is the actual gameplay. Now, cinematics have their place in gaming. For sure, they help you immerse yourself in the universe and etc. Like, they're good, right? But if you take them too far, then you're like, well, am I just playing a game or watching a movie? And I say that I love narrative games. Like, I loved a game like Firewatch. I loved Heavy Rain, and the game that they did after that. I think it's Detroit Become Human or something. I love those games, right? But when I play those games, I'm definitely more in the mood for basically in the mood to more watch a movie than actually play a game. You know what I mean? So I think here they made like a really good decision to take all that stuff that could be shown during gameplay and in other levels, but to remove that hard 6-minute cinematic that would have asked like a bunch of animations, and also like perhaps even more importantly, it would have grabbed the player's focus for 6 minutes. If you can avoid that, that's preferable, I think. Interesting, very interesting here. Deleted weapons, vehicles, and characters. Oh, more good stuff.
Please, mainly, I make guns. My name is Marcus Leto. I am the art director for Halo 2.
My name is Shikai Wang, and I'm a conceptual artist for Halo 2.
Look, it's the blind wolf.
The beloved blind wolf.
That was back when you could ride it.
Yeah, you could actually mount the thing and ride it.
They still did not edit it in Halo 2.
Couldn't handle it on the AI side. Couldn't flock them. Couldn't fit them into gameplay.
Oh, wow. If you actually go back to the video that I made about like that E3 presentation in LOC, that's exactly what I mentioned, I think. Oh, they probably couldn't get the AI working or something. I was right. Fucking called it.
Oh, it's nothing on our end.
No.
It's always the programmers.
We had it all.
Yeah, it's
Drenal was a big deal.
Drenal.
Giant boss character. And we'd always thought the Covenant kept this thing, all tied up and enraged.
Right.
And it would bring it out during the frontline battle.
It would have been a cool boss character.
I think he was just too damn big.
Yeah. Good vehicle smasher, it would have been good.
Yeah. That was the special purpose sniper guy, right?
We wanted like him to have his arms used as like a tripod, and he can actually flip left to right, like side to side, so without having to switch weapons or something.
We had him
silly.
being able to hang from trees as well and do some weird stuff like that.
He got pretty far too. We actually
that's ugly.
him and got into the game and stuff. Just
it took that long to figure out that.
Yeah.
He's a piece of crap.
This is the engineer.
We got this into the game.
It's actually
fully
Halo
modeled,
1,
textured. It was a technological savvy character that would rip apart technology and
Idiot savant.
Consume it for the Covenant. This is probably the weirdest character I've seen in our sketchbook.
Goddamn.
Said we needed a character that was more menacing because everyone of our characters looked too.
We needed something more
monster-like.
monster-like.
We were just trying to go.
They nailed it. Goddamn.
A physique that's like biped, but doesn't behave like a biped.
You remove its dick. The fuck, guys?
Missing and all these limbs that are extra limbs.
Oh, this guy's cool.
I like this guy. He was supposed to carry his weapon under his belly.
Beginnings of the Hunter, I think.
There you go, Rob.
Hey, it's the what
Gator,
was it?
Doberman.
Doberman Gator or yeah. And then the keel bug. Which was my idea for cleaning up bodies on the battlefield. It would.
That's neat, though.
A few of them would fly in and cut the body into sections and fly off.
I like the wing where it actually distorts.
It made no sense.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it was a strike fighter, right? It was like a defensive fighter for the Earth space.
Well, it just didn't fit into our gameplay either. We didn't have, we didn't have a purpose for this kind of thing.
That's cinematics.
Yeah, it'd be a cinematic only thing.
We needed more of a Black Hawk type vehicle, which also got dropped. Dude, I so wanted this vehicle to get into the game.
The doozy.
Precursor to the doozy.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Didn't that thing eventually wind up getting a gun on the back of it, or?
No, two people got one gun in the front, one in the back. And then
one guy facing
That looks cool, man.
Yeah.
The nausea seat.
Looks like something out of Star
Kind
Wars.
of a strange thing back then, especially ones that we needed to remain stationary at a certain altitude. That we had a very difficult time with some of those. It would have taken a long time for us to tune the engine physics to make it work right.
Oh man, this is mongoose.
The ATV.
Yeah, I got cut.
We had weapons on the front of it initially. We tried no weapons. The designers couldn't figure out how to integrate it into gameplay. It didn't work in conjunction with vehicles like the Warthog or the Ghost.
True.
This broke the model too much. Can't tune it well enough, so we had to cut it out.
That makes sense, because like as a player, if you have one option that has like weapons and another one that doesn't, the one that doesn't have any weapons is superfluous. Like it won't be used. So if it's not used, might as well cut it. Make sense?
This is disappointing as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
it
tried
is.
so hard to get this thing into the game. We had effects, model. We even reiterated it for Halo 2.
We built it. The most difficult model to build that I did in Halo was the most difficult rebuild for Halo 2.
Yep. Looked beautiful too.
Oh.
Sure, it sucks. Yeah, it's all this good stuff we want to get into the game, but that's part of making games.
Preach. Yep. You gotta cut stuff, man. Halo Origins.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So are those like newer guys, or are those the old guys?
Those are the super old, like,
those are the old
guys.
Hey, that looks like the back of my dog.
Okay, so this is Sheik, Rob, and Paul, and Marty making sound effects. Now we're out on the road. Who thought this was going to be cool?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's like
The first time we had
big mirror.
Oh yeah, that was actually I reacted to that already. First look, Halo 2.
Here is the space station. I think the main gist of what we were trying to achieve with this at the very, very beginning was the idea of this giant perimeter gun that orbits the Earth and is used for satellite defense.
One thing I really liked about the space station was how you could actually really have a sense of where you were in the station with all the windows looking out onto the gun, like all these atrium spaces where you've got a lot of sight lines to other parts of the station that you later get.
That's
Unlike
neat.
the Pillar of Autumn, you really didn't have a sense of how big the structure was.
That leads us onto Old Mombasa. We had a lot of destruction present in this to really try to set the mood of the Earth being under attack. It was sort of an inspiration of what would an old ethnic neighborhood look like in the future. So a lot of stuff has been retrofitted with wires, and it was a nice way to transitions into the newer architecture, which you eventually get to after you play through the beach and the tunnels and all that. And you eventually end up over what we call New Mombasa.
A lot of the look and feel of the city was based on either concepts that were painted or from actual photographs of the current city of Mombasa that exists in Kenya. And so that's why it seems familiar. At the same time, we've tried to add as simply as possible signs of 500 years of human advance.
It sort of still harkens to the arcology concept that Chris Lee was working on a long time for the E3.
You'll see a lot of architecture here, like this large bridge. There's some highway sections, and then the new city. And the reason why the arcology was replaced is because it was such a massive structure that you really felt like you were just in a gray metal canyon and not in a living city, nearly as much as the new level. So hopefully it was a change for the better.
Gas Giant.
Makes sense.
It's big.
Worked on this
big
for
baby.
Too long, too many years. It was satisfying to play through it. I played through it today, and I think successfully. The production half of it feels like, okay, this is where they're moving these odd canisters full of gas that they're farming. I think there's a good transition from that to the research area where this predates the Halos. The idea for this is where they first sort of came into contact with the Flood and had this horrible potential war in front of them or infestation.
Okay, here we go. Sentinel Wall. This is where where things start to cook up story-wise.
This wall was built by the Forerunners to keep the flood quarantined into a specific area on Delta Halo.
Even the exterior of the quarantine zone is supposed to reflect the barrenness and the lack of life.
Yep.
The Sentinels have been trying to instill in the area.
Snow was a great choice for that, for sure.
And energy and heat and all sorts of good things, and so that's why it's so cold. And we're now at High Charity.
We definitely took a departure from the Covenant stuff that we did in Halo.
Definitely.
Able to squeeze the most out of the Xbox and actually do all the fancy curves and shiny surfaces that we had drawn out.
We chose a different palette for colors.
Yes, purple.
A lot darker.
Much darker purple than
much darker purple. Desaturated.
Off tones of Halo 1.
We pulled off a much better organic feel to everything, which was really kind of neat. And so the lighting is going to be very dark and moody.
So now we're looking at
the Delta Halo. It's really
yes.
a lot of beautiful water shots. I think some of the really good overgrowth throughout all of it.
So. Yeah, we definitely put a lot more attention onto making Forerunner structures look like they've actually aged. First game, they were pretty spick and span. It's somewhat reminiscent of the first control room in terms of its sort of the ziggurat structure that Chris Barrett did in Halo 1. Wanted to relate to that in the spherical room shape, or the control room shape, but unearthed it a lot more.
I think this is really where we hit our stride, because the sheer scope and scale of all these levels,
they're huge.
They're huge.
All right, guys, and that's it for the Halo 2 Limited Collector's Edition documentary from 2004. That was very enjoyable. I love seeing behind the curtain stuff. I just love it. It's so interesting to me. I hope you had fun watching my reaction to it. If you did, comment down below what you thought about the documentaries and my thoughts on it. And on that note, guys, have a good one.